Alrighty, welcome to another stream of Lyrebird Edits. Thank you for being patient with me while I set up. Just a couple of things I needed to sort out, including waking up on time. So yeah, welcome to another Sunday morning stream. I didn't do the last Sunday's stream. I took a day off to do family things, which was nice. So yes, thank you very much for waiting. And bearing with me while I disconnect and reconnect several times. Bit laggy, says TTLACC. Let me double check something. Yeah, that's it. I see you there. Background Intelligent Services. Yeah. This is a really useful thing, services.msc. It's when stuff just doesn't want to cooperate with your downloads. So I've got to disable it first in the services background intelligent services transfer stop, right click on it and disable it. Unbelievable. Just, I don't know what it is about Windows not wanting to let up on its bandwidth usage, but I'll connect to a fast internet and then all the little processes are like, oh, I need to update now, and so it's got like 5 of them queued up, and then OBS is like, hey, I'm trying to stream, and everything's downloading in the background, and you have to go in and you have to do all this crazy kind of like, well, it's not even crazy, you just open up a Windows panel, disable again, apply, shut it to, I mean, it might auto restart, whatever, like regardless, it should be I think I'm back up. Hello. Right. Let's see how we can deal with this now. I've lost all my stream chat too, so I will go from here. Great. Hi. Hello everyone. Welcome to Lyrebird Edits. Thank you for dealing with my stream. I have no idea what's going on. But yes, hello. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being very patient with me. Why don't we just dive straight in? And I won't waste any more time. I'm good. this screen name, wow. But yes, no. I'm usually a bit more stable in the mornings, but that's what you get when you sleep in and you wake up late. So, no, stream quality's taking a dive. Is it? Yeah, I think everything is a little funny right now. Yeah, it's getting bad again, isn't it? Okay. Okay, that should be a little better. Please let me know if the stream just keeps going up and down. I'll try a couple of more things. This should work. Okay. So, we'll dive straight in. Last time we got up to, I think I'm trying to remember the line. The extraordinary lengths you're going to prevent me from editing your story. Good. So it was here that we got up to last time. We've got a couple of characters who are on the run from what I think is an alien menace, but I'm not entirely sure. We have Julia and I think Aiden. Yes, that's right. Aiden, Julia, and Chloe. Chloe being the baby, and they're taking shelter inside an old mechanic shop while outside the world is kind of going to hell. So we've got two sections that we were dealing with, and the first section here was quite a sort of compact snippet of time before the calamity happened, with a little description of what happened, full stop, like the actual calamity itself. And then we have a bit of a time skip here where we go forward and into the basement. Now, Sean was saying over Discord that on the basis of some of the feedback that he's gotten, he reconfigured this scene so that it's now chapter 1. I'm not sure then what... actually, I'll ask Sean. OutriderSG, when you say that you have reworked this into a chapter 1, is it still incorporating elements from this first part here? Like, have you... did you cut out the first part, or did you move things around? Is it still Julia and Aiden in the mechanics shop? Cool, nice. That helps because it means that the edit that I'll do today will be useful. It won't just sort of be like, oh, I'll edit stuff and then for whatever reason it won't, you know, end up having a downstream effect. So good, that's good. Okay, so we got up to a part last time where they were... That's right. Aiden would joke that Julia loved the jacket more than him. She never set him straight. It was a small comfort, the only thing they managed to grab when they fled the car. And so we got up to here. Okay, I'll read out and then we'll go back and continue from the lines. It had been a few weeks since winter gave way to spring. Even so, the basement approached freezing at night, and the power in the shop stopped working straight away. Gonna move the microphone a bit closer. There we go. Julia slid over to their makeshift bed and laid down, Chloe in her arms. Aiden followed suit, hugging them both from behind. A draft rolled over them. Huddled together in the darkness, they listened. He could feel Julia's breaths quicken and her body shudder. She was whimpering, cold and nervous. He squeezed her arm. "What are we going to do, Aiden?" she asked. "We'll think of something." His head was a roil, but one thought kept bubbling to the surface. Aiden couldn't help himself. "Hey, you don't own a pair of yoga pants, do you?" he asked. "I feel like we've given them a bad rap." Julia swatted him on the arm, then rested her head into the crook of her elbow and sniffed. "I do." He held her tight to his chest and kissed her on the shoulder, then on the neck. She turned back to him and nuzzled against his chin, urging his mouth towards hers. She nibbled on his lip, the tiniest pinch. She tasted of vanilla and sweat. He loved it. It wasn't long before Julia was out, but sleep proved elusive for Aiden. Laying there, his eyes began to wander around the room, taking in its dingy sterility. An ill-maintained selection of drills and wrenches sat piled up in one corner, or in the corner. They were exactly the kind of tools you'd expect to find in a shitty little mechanics shop such as this. He couldn't recall ever seeing Nathan's auto repair before. Small wonder. The stack of leaflets sitting adjacent to the tools advertised some heavy price cuts. The struggling shop had seen better times, he guessed, even before all this. A cramp settled into Aiden's ribcage, forcing him to shift onto his back. Not that it did much good. Julia had discovered a tattered car cover and laid it out across a pallet, a bit more comfortable than the cold, unwelcoming concrete. A bit. Yeah, apologies for OBS. What are you doing, OBS? Why are you so lame this morning?
Can you pause for a sec?
Hello. Sorry. Thank you for dealing with that. That was Dad, by the way. Bit of a new star of Lyrebird edits. Okay, let me keep a little eye on OBS. If it's ducking up and down a little more, I'm gonna go back on my phone, which now has 4G. Good. Okay. I hope so. TTLACC, huge version gets the laggy pieces of the VOD into one video. It doesn't seem like you. I don't know what Restream does. I stream through Restream and it splits it into 2 different locations. David edits. A rare glimpse into my family life. Yes. I think TTLACC it just takes in the raw process of what I'm doing here, which is unfortunate. I wish there was some way that I could like, and then with words, but I don't know. So we have this little scene here, struggling with a bit of times he guessed. A cramp settled into his ribcage. He turns over. Julia had discovered a tattered car cover later down. The cramp was unpleasant enough, but Aiden felt his stomach churning too. It had been like that all day, a constant reminder of how long they'd gone without a decent meal. After their failed attempt to make it back to the car yesterday, Julia had convinced him to explore the workshop above. She hoped that he might find food, water, anything to help with Chloe's fever. It didn't take him long to discover the old vending machine in the customer service area. Behind the murky glass, he found a scant few bags of chips aged beyond their prime, a disappointing haul to say the least. He moved on to the service counter, Rummaging through cabinets and drawers, some luck, he scored a bottle of aspirin and moved 4 pills left inside. To make things worse, he was forced to cut the search short. In the distance, spotlights were moving through the trees in sweeping patterns. As the bright, unnatural beams drew near, they panned over the filthy shop windows. Try as he might, he was unable to peer beyond them to their point of origin. Oh, also, hi, sorry, I completely forgot to say hello to a couple of people. Yes, hello, Real Sayaka. You haven't missed much because I haven't been able to stream all that effectively this morning. Because my internet's just weird. It's choppy, very choppy. But I'll persist with it. We'll see how we go. I'm just really not happy with how it's. Oh well, what can you do? Yes, you missed David edits. we had enough time, Juxtaterrestrial. Yeah, we did. I think that's enough time. Like the 1.5 minutes I was gone. Effective time to hide a body. Hmm. Oh hey, mate, you got some super hot fire thrown my way. Pop it into Discord. And I will peruse at my own leisure. Yes, I should switch to my phone. I'm gonna do that. Bear with me, please. Another minute. Please. Okay, we're back on the phone. Hello, welcome. Don't take your Discord for sanity. I can hear it going bloop, bloop, bloop in my ear. And I'm not checking it. I'm ignoring it. Alright, let me know if that's any better or any worse. We'll keep an eye on it. Man, your Californian wildfires are crazy. I mean, we thought Australian bushfires were bad, and then we look on the news and it's the eucalyptus. That's the thing. It's the eucalyptus. Don't trust anything with eucalyptus in it. Yeah, isn't that interesting? I find exactly the same. In some cases, like for me, my phone actually has better internet than my home connection. It's faster, it's more reliable, usually. Yeah, I don't know. It's a combination of things for why this is the case for me usually. Um, yeah, we've got a whole ecosystem that needs fire. It's weird. Like the bush burning is part of the natural cycle. Yeah, but I think even mixtape might just be like the tipping factor. Exactly, TTLACC is 100% right. You know, careful what you wish for. You make a power vacuum, and then you get some really nasty stuff coming in. Um, so he remembers a scene. I'm gonna go back to the writing. He remembers a scene where picking on the point of origin. He was seeing what was outside the window. They panned over the filthy shop windows, and try as he might, he was unable to peer beyond them to their point of origin. Unwilling to press his luck, he traced his steps back toward the stairs. Then something caught his eye, a bottle of water. Knocked over, stagnant and half empty. It would have to do. Julia came close to breaking down when he returned, meagre hole in hand. She tried to hide her disappointment behind a deflated smile. Aiden felt worthless, ashamed, but the supplies had carried them through the evening. Those modest scraps were a little comfort now. His stomach snarled as he laid there. He worked his palm into the cramp, dwelling on the sharp ache of it to cast hunger from his mind. Julia was snoring, a soft, raspy purr. She denied it whenever accused. But it never bothered Aiden. He found it relaxing, a comforting familiarity amid all the weirdness going on. The smooth rumbling of her breath was all it took, and moments later, he was fast asleep. It didn't last. Aiden awoke to an unsettling stillness. It was calm, except for the thumping. That never let up. Snapping upright, he looked down to see that his daughter was still beside him, peaceful. Julia, on the other hand, was no longer there. Okay, let's cut it there, and we'll go back up to here. So that's a good page and a half worth of stuff to talk about. Oh, I regret going into Discord. I regret that. Please join my Discord. The link is on the Twitch homepage. Sometimes though, I wonder. And hey, the stream quality's not crap. Great. Welcome to Lyrebird Edits. Thank you. Thank you. My stream quality is always tight. There are no problems ever, and everything is always smooth. So, yeah, if you said hello to me this morning and I haven't said hello back, I'm very sorry. It's not because I'm rude. Well, maybe it is, but yeah, I've just been a bit frazzled. So hello, welcome. If I haven't said hello to you and you're a regular, don't have any heartbreak. I still love you. that was the intent. You know, I'm just gonna close Discord. You know, just take. I can't have nice things anymore because I could hear it going bloop 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 bloop, and I'm like, how many minions are you posting, Sayaka? Too many is the answer. Oh, that's interesting. What's does auto tell you what quality you stream in? Because I stream in 540p. It's like one down from 720. I could just mute the blips, yeah. 540p, cool. Yeah, sorry I can't do any higher. I'm also streaming in 30 frames a second. If I could do higher, I would, but I'm already causing problems. It's really, yeah. If you're listening, my telco, which is Optus, I would pay extra money to not have crappy upload speeds. Extra money for you, my telco. Please let me stream. Oh, cinematic. Yeah, I didn't consider 24 frames a second. Not even 4K. You know, but I didn't consider 24. Let's have a talk about this section here. One of the things that I was thinking about, ever since we go from the time skip, we've got this section here that deals with Aiden and Julia figuring out what it is that they're going to do. Now, the more time that we spend in their present world, the more distance it creates between this kind of scene and like a step back or a flashback scene. So I started reading from here, and we've already had 1, 2, and a bit pages of information before that. And when we go into this scene here, we add another half page onto that, so let's call it around 3 pages. Aiden has a cramp in his back, and then from this point on we get a... I'll type this up. From this point on, we get a flashback scene in which 2 things happen. 1, more info about the shop and any available supplies is brought to the fore, or is brought to attention. 2, a brief mention of the outside menace. So I make a little comment there, more for myself, just so I don't forget what elements were there. That seems awfully low. I thought it was like slightly higher than 240p. That seems very... Are you sure you're not confusing the human eye for like a fish eye? I'm skeptical of this claim of yours, Meg. Okay, so what I'm going to suggest here is that because we've had quite a big chunk of quite nice character interaction before this, the later on in the story that you try and introduce a flashback, this isn't even a flashback, it's more like a sort of quiet moment of reflection back, in which arguably not all that much happens. These are sort of more ground level, blow by blow descriptions of what needs to happen in order for characters to survive, like scrounging around for supplies. Probably the strongest part of this section here is how Aiden feels like he feels helpless. That's the strongest thing to take away from it. The logistics, however, I don't think are really needed, because we've spent a lot of time before in a setting where we kind of assume stuff like this has happened. So for instance, he scored a bottle of aspirin, 4 more pills, and I think some crisps. Where were they? Where were the crisps? Well past their prime. Here we go. So we've got some chips. Well past their prime. Chips. And a bottle of water. And aspirin. I wasn't hallucinating. I saw aspirin, right? Where's the aspirin? Find the aspirin. There's the aspirin. Here's the aspirin. Blue is the aspirin. Okay, so these sorts of details here can probably be better served if you just weave them into the narrative earlier up. So, for example, in one of these scenes up here where Lee Everett, I much prefer your alter ego on the Twitch line. This is the caliber of YouTube comment I'm used to. Come back to Twitch. Elevate yourself. Soon I think we will. Sayaka, I want to talk about the structure of this scene first. So for instance, when you have Julia interacting with Chloe and dealing with her temperature, that would be a really good time to mention the aspirin that Aiden found, or the bottle of water, or the crisps that he had to scrounge for. You can couch that information within a single sentence rather than wrapping it around its own dedicated flashback. So I'll explain why I think that's stronger than what you have here. The less time you spend in the past and more in the present, the more immediate the story feels. That's not to say that there are moments where you can't and shouldn't go back into the past. Rather, I think in this scene here, it feels like it's a bit unnecessary. I as a reader have come to the conclusion myself that I will have to piece together the events leading up to the motor shop, just from having read through it. So for the narrator to go back and tell me little bits about what happened feels like it should work only if it's really, really higher up, like the second or the third paragraph in this whole scene. But because we've had Aiden and Julia interacting, sharing a tender moment, dealing with Chloe, looking out the windows, discussing what they're going to do, joking about yoga pants, like there's all of these really detailed scenes here. Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think maybe it's best just to reincorporate this information into the previous scenes. That might make it read a bit smoother. And I'm glad you agree. So I'm going to highlight bottle of water and just type that out again. So these pieces of info can be woven into the narrative earlier on. It saves you from having to wrap it around a flashback scene, and it'll make the narrative smoother. Oh, hey, Final Boss Editing. Hey, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Thank you. Thanks very much. Everyone, this is Final Boss Editing. Say hello to him. Go check his channel out. He's like the great granddaddy of Twitch streaming. Yeah, and he's really good too. So go and give him some love. Yeah. How long have you been editing for, Final Boss? Because I mean, I started in July last year. It's been a year almost. But you were doing it much longer than that. Elias, I have a daddy. Cool. Okay, so we've got this scene here. It saves me. I'll make the narrative smoother. Cool. So in that case, good. Which means that, refreshingly, you can highlight most of this and just press delete, because you can take the elements and incorporate it into your narrative a little further up, which is good. It also means that we can potentially get away from this, a cramp settled into his ribcage, which transitions into the flashback and then transitions back out. Easy to meme and distract. I think that's a good indication for you as a writer as well. If there's something unsettling about it, if there's something you can't quite put your finger on, or if you just outright don't like something, it's often a good indication that your reader won't as well. But often you don't know how to rework it or what to do with it. So hey, that's where it's handy to get a very handsome editor to come in and edit your work. That's an interesting suggestion. So the Corgi commander says that instead of flashbacking within a scene, they'll just create a new scene for it. Yeah, I think that can work. If it's well fleshed out enough, I think that can be, yeah, quite a good thing to do. Hey, Pumpkin Pie Addict, welcome to the stream. So handsome. That's the most important thing for choosing an editor is you gotta judge the quality of the face first, the facial hair, the thermal that they're wearing, the quality of the dad. You know, all of these little things just sort of add up to give an impression of the overall quality of the kind of editor that you get. Yeah, that's my advice. Good, and my stream quality is nice. It's nice right now, lovely. The dad quality 10 out of 10. Thank you, I'll tell Dad that. Dad was the parrot. He really just appeared from here. There's nothing like from here into here. Listen. That's a cupboard. So yeah. Like I just felt him here, like, whoa. It was really scary. Yeah. Anyway, he was there the whole time. The lineage of the editor. Oh, fantastic. It did feel a bit creepy, yeah. Okay, so let's what I'll do is I'll go back and do a bit of a line edit as well, just make sure the grammar is good. It was a small comfort. It had been a few weeks since winter gave way to spring. Even so, the basement approached freezing at night, and the power in the shop stopped working straight away. If you wanted to demonstrate this fact, you could, and the power in the shop stopped working straight away. If you wanted to demonstrate this fact, this fact, you could, what could you do? You could describe it happening. The flicker of the light bulb as it runs out of the last drop of mains powers, like so. So something like Aiden watched the light bulb above flicker and die with the setting sun outside. Soon a terrible chill would follow, as it had last night and the night before. If you write like that, it's an event. It demonstrates exactly what you're saying here, but it actually happens in the story world, as opposed to more of like a theoretical discussion about the mains power. And the power in the shop stopped working straight away. So rather than just saying it, you can demonstrate it. And I always encourage to do that. Sometimes you can just throw out stuff and not worry about it. The top line, I think maybe it was pushed down between the pages, yeah. You can even have an aside from one of the characters of S's. Yeah, exactly. That's quite a good suggestion, Pumpkin Pie Addict, yeah. Depending on the interactions that other characters have with each other, you could always incorporate it within dialogue as well. That's a really useful way to do it. It feels real that way. It feels like it's a living, breathing story. That's an interesting observation, Mr. Corgi Commander. I think everyone has their own level of what they want to describe within their stories. I always suggest to do more, but that's simply based on the samples that I've read here over my stream. It seems like people are very quick to move through the scene, and but I know that there are writers who waffle and who overwrite. I just haven't encountered one yet. Internal thought is also good too. So we've got narrator, description, character dialogue, internal thought. Yeah, internal thoughts are good like that. Don't overuse them, but sparingly, it can be really refreshing to hear the character internalize their thoughts. I think the trick, Corgi Commander, is to... It's to not put yourself down, but rather see what other people are doing that you like and steal it. Outright steal it. No, it's to emulate the kind of writing that you like seeing. And to think about why you like what you see. If you see that there's really nice detail and it flows together, just try and practice like copying it. Not obviously not word for word, but that sort of style. And that way you sort of incorporate it into your own toolkit that you can then use. Yeah, exactly. Imitation is the best form of flattery. Words of wisdom from Bucking Fitches. Oof. Oof. Yes, as Lyrebird Edits often says, all the good writers steal. Thank you, Sekoj, for quoting me. That's a very good quote, but is mine and mine alone. Thank you. That's a good suggestion. Practice copywriting too. Very, very useful. Very helpful. I have a really good, really conscientious group of followers. Thank you, guys. I think I'm very lucky. Julia slid over to the makeshift bed and laid down, Chloe in her arms. I noticed that a little bit down here, you describe this a little more. They were exactly the kind of things pressed. Vanilla. It was something to do with the palette. Let me do a Control F for palette. Julia had discovered a tattered car cover and laid it out across a pallet. A bit more comfortable than the cold, unwelcoming concrete. A bit. This is a good line. Let me cut it because I think it's in the wrong place. Let's go back up and paste it here. Julia slid over to their makeshift bed and laid down Chloe in her arms. Although nothing more... Whoops. But a tattered car cover, she... Did I have a comment there? No, it was a bit more... So, in the same way that we had Scarface's parrot popping up last time, or the black bag thing, we want to make sure that the details that ground the setting should be kind of introduced early, and then we don't have to, I suppose, reintroduce important elements later down the track. There's no advantage to leaving it later, and there's every advantage to, at the front, grounding it and making sure that your reader understands where things are. Let me go back and read some comments. Yep, cool. Oh, nice. You've already addressed that, OutriderSG. Yeah, cool. Here is okay, but if I was going to, as you say, it might actually serve better if it was further up in the story. I'll let you be the judge of that, and in your subsequent edit, we can have a look at where you decided to put it. Dr. Terrestrial says, destroy the protein, see them driven before you and hear the lamentations of their amino acids. That's a great title for a paper. I wonder if I can squeeze that into the thesis somewhere. I'll try. I'll report back and I'll let you know, Juxtaterrestrial, whether or not this is something that can happen. It's a direct quote. Yeah, it's a mechanical keyboard. I'll show you guys. I love talking about mechanical keyboards. This is my keyb. It's really nice. It's just a dream to type on. Like, I don't even think of it as anything other than just the interface that I use for writing, but it's so comfortable and so fast. And it makes you sound like you're typing in 1,000,000 miles a second when you're typing up something really simple. Very much recommend getting one. Yeah, they're lovely things. No, they are brown switches, Pumpkin Pie Addict. I thought blue would be my thing, or even green, but I can't enjoy blue. It makes me slower. I don't know why, but with browns, it's just it's like Cherry MX Browns is. Yeah, it's a very unusual feeling. It's subtle and it's like air. I've also got a red keyboard, an MX Red, but that's a bit more difficult to type with because of experience. I just haven't used it that much. Yeah. Ooh, blacks. They are heavy. Good for gaming, I hear. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's all a matter of personal preference. That's good actually, yeah. They are noisy in a very pleasant way, so if it helps you write, that's the best thing, honestly. Like, if it makes the experience of writing more enjoyable, then that's fantastic, yeah. Oh yeah, no, totally fine, OutriderSG. I'm more than happy for people to be like, oh, I've already addressed this, so it's better that we don't cover the same. Oh, bye. It's better that we don't cover the same ground. So no, I wasn't taking offense to anything, yeah. AMSR of keyboard. Yeah. It's nice, yeah. Have you tried reds, Sekoj? Reds are quite nice. I like reds. Sayaka says something good here about a draft rolled over them. This one here. I suggest keeping that in one paragraph, making it a bit longer. A draft rolled over them. Huddled together in the darkness, they listened. Yeah, I think add. A draft rolled over them. Follow this up with a consequence. Technically, the second sentence implies what they do, but second sentence can always be linked. So, for instance, a draft rolled over them and they decided to huddle, or they decided to huddle. A draft rolled over them and they came together in the darkness, that sort of thing. So you can get rid of the full stop and make it one sentence there. Damn you, Sayaka, and your inconsistencies. Are supposed to be here to divert me and to constantly mention Shrek, but just occasionally you let slip something useful. How can I rely on you to distract me now? How can I? What will I do? A breeze to a cold within the basement is quite poetic. It is a little too writery though, isn't it? I know exactly what you mean. A real pain in the ass for this. I'll let you decide what to do with this. Its purpose right now doesn't really exist, so think of something or some way to maybe make it a bit more scenic. If that helps. It's a small point, we can move on. That's okay, I think. We'll think of something. He said it was a royal, but one that kept bubbling to the surface. Aiden couldn't help himself. I don't mind this, but it's a bit quick. I'd like another sentence here. So he said it was a royal, but one that kept bubbling, but one thought kept bubbling to the surface. It could even be as short as Aiden couldn't help himself. He smirked, leaning closer to Julia, and said blah blah blah. So I get rid of the back end dialogue tag here. Or smirking, leaning closer to Julia. That would help soften the transition, I think. I personally don't mind how jarring that emotion feels from going from total despondency to a joke, because I think we've established before that they can do that and do so quite comfortably with each other, which is really nice. So I kind of let it slide. Personally, I don't mind it. Other feedback you get from this might be like, hey, I didn't really believe that like they could go from being so serious and just so flippant like that. I like it, but maybe listen to other people's feedback as well and see what they say. Breaking this up into its own separate paragraph isn't strictly correct, but I quite like it because it sort of bookends everything. It's nice. Turned back to him and nuzzled against his chin, urging his mouth towards her. She nibbled on his lip, the tiniest pinches. Good. As long as Julia was out. And then what you want to do here, oh, sorry. I think Pumpkin Pie Addict's onto something there. And maybe my suggestion could just be, like, extend it out. I was thinking of how to extend it. But it's good to know that someone else noticed that too. Add a couple of sentences. That would help ease that transition between A and B. Going the opposite way could be interesting too. Yeah, really good suggestions here for Sean. Good. Okay, now but here we've got this is interesting detail. I don't know if it really I don't know if this detail is really warranted beyond the shop was derelict. And you can probably mention this once towards the start of a scene, and never again. I like the world building. I like the world building aspect, but I'm not sure it fits here. I don't think it fits here. It reads like it's extraneous detail. That pads out the story unnecessarily. Actually, all of this, the dingy sterility, blah 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 blah. You'll have to think then about he loved it, and then from here on, this stuff here. Here, all of this section here that I've highlighted from it wasn't long before Julia down to these modder scraps with little comfort now can probably be deleted, because this stuff here should I made a comment about what these two parts were. It was the mechanics shop and the a bit about the aliens, but mostly about the food and stuff. Incorporated earlier, cut it, and then you have the tiniest pinch. He tasted of vanilla and sweat. He loved it. His stomach snarled as he laid there. He worked his palm into the cramp, dwelling on the sharp pain. Julia snored. He fell asleep. It didn't last. Aiden had woke to an unsettling stillness, and Julia was no longer there. I think that's a much quicker and more impactful scene, so I'll make a... Worked his palm into the cramp. So I'll highlight that in purple, start here, and end here. Everything between then is probably stuff that you can cut and rework. Nice. Let's move on from Julia is not there. Oh yeah, Aaron Sorkin, yeah. He's the master of the left turn. He does an awful lot of left turns, Mr. Sorkin. It's kind of mesmerizing to watch though. I like it. Ah, interesting, so he knows where to find it. Cool. Keep that and introduce it a little further up. Or, if there's a breeze that comes through, the draft that we were talking about before, get them to gently caress the wrenches and make them kind of like tap against the board. Remember, there was a line here where you say that there's a silence except for the banging in the background. If you have that draft coming through, you can make it interact with the wrenches on the wall. That might be something good to do. Yeah. So in addition to putting it higher up, reintroduce it with the breeze and the wrenches, and then... That's interesting. Was no longer there. Before Julia was out. Where's this Sayaka? Yeah, exactly. That's right. So I'm not saying get rid of this and never see it again. I'm just saying pick out the good parts and push it further up. And I've kind of highlighted, well, I've highlighted the items, but refer to this comment here. More info about the shop and a brief mention of the outside menace, but also the wrenches too. So I'll let you decide on that too. Cool. Breeze and wrenches. I don't know, like, it must be a pretty strong breeze to bristle against the wrenches. But if the wrenches are stored, I guess, like on a nail? How do you store a wrench? If they're in some sort of cabinet or something. Or if they're on the wall and they're just loosely attached. But yeah. Cool. And that way we have a purpose for the breeze as well. Okay, let's start here, and then we'll read more, and then we'll go down. Yeah, exactly. We'll let Sean deal with it. Aiden gouged for sleep from his eyes. He squinted through the slender window next to the stairs leading outside. Darkness. Morning hadn't yet arrived. He called out to the shadows, "Jules?" There was no answer. It took a beat for it to sink in. Then it hit him. He knew where Julia had gone. Panicked, he scrambled to his feet. He began to chase her footsteps back and forth across the floor. His pattern in the dust echoing hers. What the fuck is she thinking? There was no doubt in his mind. Julia snuck up while they were sleeping. She was going for the car. God damn it, Jules. Fuck. He weighed the idea of going after her. But Chloe, he couldn't leave her, could he? No. It would be safer than bringing her with him, surely. They're still out there, he thought. He pressed his palms to his eyes, then raked his fingers through his short chestnut hair. Julia would make the right choice. She was good at that, deciding what was best for Chloe, not like Aiden. Work had kept him busy, too much time away from his daughter. He hadn't bonded with her the way that Julia had. When she cried, she reached for Mum, and truth be told, he'd been okay with that. No, he thought, Julia wouldn't take her into that. He made up his mind. She would be safer in the basement. Shit. Aiden scrambled around the room in search of anything he could use as a weapon. He recalled seeing a sizable wrench sitting among the rusty set of tools. Cool. Stumbling through the darkness, he made his way to the corner. It took a minute to sift through the pile before he could find it. He gripped the wrench in his right hand, clenching his fist around the cold steel until his knuckles turned paler than usual. Chloe stirred, threatening to make a fuss, and Aiden held still. A deer in the headlights. She settled after a moment. Okay, he carried on toward the door, weapon in hand, then scaled the stairs. A dampness was in the air. Charcoal clouds painted the sky in a rolling swell, illuminated from within by periodic bursts of striking white light. But something was off about them. They moved with menace, a malicious intent. The quarter moon cowered behind them, making it next to impossible to spot the freeway overpass in the distance. Everything had happened so fast that Aiden guessed about 10 minutes from the car until they had hit the woods, cutting through the trees to catch their breath beneath the canopy. It'd be another 20 minutes to the shop from here. In the darkness, though, he had no idea how long it would take to find his way back to the road. The onslaught hadn't subsided either. On the horizon, the gold-laced streaks of red light tore through the atmosphere. Each met with a column of fire as they crashed into the ground with a scream and a distant clap. It was the same everywhere, Aiden looked. The edge of the sky was a maelstrom of lightning and fire, which pulsed a brazen hue. Stepping out of the doorway, Aiden paused before an open field. Grass dry as kindling. The blades cascaded in wavy arches from the wind, ushering him toward the trees. With only his hunch to guide him, with only his hunch to guide him, he started for the freeway. He wandered in a few steps, then halted. A thunderous crack seemed to split the heavens in two, another streak of light piercing the sky overhead. It smacked the ground with a tremendous rumble some distance beyond the shop. A plume of smoke billowed up into the air, much closer than the rest. And just give me a sec, I'll read the comments. Puck Addict says there's a lot of potential there to establish relations between Aiden, Julia, and Chloe in a more demonstrative way. I agree. It really depends on how much time we're going to be spending with these characters too. A couple of points here as well. I've got something to say about this work keeping him busy. Ernst Theringbone. Hello, welcome to the stream, by the way. Ernst Theringbone says, a deer in headlights. What do you think of using common idioms like this? For me, they always seem to take me out of the flow of the story. I'll just go through the discussion and give my 2 cents about it as well. Yes, also hello. I'm up to here now. Hello. Yeah, I don't usually talk about things. I'm trying to think of what I do, which maybe isn't helpful. As an editor, where was it? Let me discern the deer. Chloe stirred, threatening to make a fuss, but Aiden held still. A deer in headlights. I'd be happy seeing a slightly more tailored expression, but I don't hate it. Do I think it's wrong? Mainly because it's not the full idiom. Struck like a deer in headlights, staring like a deer in headlights, like a deer in headlights, because it doesn't have the like, or the action like a deer in headlights. Because it's just the tail end of it. For me, I glossed over it. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I get it, and then I moved forward. It's short enough that for me it didn't break the flow, but maybe to get around other people tripping over it and having them withdrawn from the story, maybe it's better to consider replacing it with a bit more something that fits the scene just as well. It doesn't have the same baggage to it. Yeah. My opinion as a writer is that sorry, BF. Sometimes it's a bit hard for me to kind of give decent advice because I'm a writer and an editor, and sometimes they don't gel. This is one of those times where I don't know. I mean, do I use idioms like this? No, but it's not because I don't like them, it's just because I think I have other ways to talk about them. If I was reading a book and someone did this, a deer in headlights, because it's so quick, I wouldn't blink an eye. I'd just be like, sure, fine, I understand, and I'm off. Could it be stronger? Maybe. Maybe that's the issue here. It's not so much like, is it okay to use an idiom? Sure. Is it the strongest that you can put in? Probably not. And I understand the other point too about, like, sometimes it would just shatter people's immersion from being like, oh, I know that idiom, I've seen it 100 times before. On the balance, maybe it's best to remove it then. But I'll let Sean decide. Ultimately, it's Sean's decision. If he can pull it off, I'll be happy. I have no strong opinion on this one specifically, though. If it was Chloe stirred, threatening to make a fuss, and Aiden, comma, caught like a deer in headlights, comma, waited, standing still, that would be less strong, because that has the full idiom in place of a proper description. So I'd suggest taking that out. This is the tail end of it. At the tail end of a sentence, I think it works. Yeah. Plagiarism, that's an interesting idea. I think if you use it without modification or without care, I wouldn't call it quite plagiarism. But maybe it becomes lazy then. Anyway, we've talked enough about idioms. Let's push forward. Where did I get up to? Here. Let's go to the end. Let's read out to the end, and then we'll talk about this section here, because it's quite different. It's a lot more flowy, fluid writing, very descriptive. So let's read more of it, and then we'll jump back and have a look at it. more or less. Aiden's heart leapt into his throat. Spring was standing across the field. It was brief, but he saw it. The flash of light had revealed a shadowy figure emerging from the tree line. He froze, completely exposed. He swallowed the fist-sized lump back down, right into the pit of his stomach. Couldn't bring himself to action. All he managed was an inhospitable glare. The shadow mirrored his stillness, patient, observing, unflinching. It made the first move, stepping toward him to break the tie. It called out across the field. Aiden? It held a moment, waiting for a response, and tried again. Babe, is that you? Jules? He felt the tension leave his broad shoulders. Ridiculous. He prepared to do battle with God knows what or who, armed only with a wrench. He didn't care. He dashed towards the center of the clearing. Julie met him halfway. What the fuck, Jules? I had to, she said. I had to, I'm sorry. Chloe was just so warm. You scared the shit out of me, hun. Look. Julia unzipped a diaper bag. She filled it with baby supplies, including Chloe's medicine. Slung over her shoulder was a ratty old backpack, stuffed with as much food and water as she could fit. She was biting her lip, but she couldn't hide the grin, which stretched from ear to ear. Aiden's smile matched hers. Dropping the wrench, he pulled her close and planted one on her. The bags... Okay, so here's... Is that an idiom? No, it's just an expression. The bag slipped from her shoulders, landing with a thud. He ran his lips down her neck, then back to her cheek and further to her forehead, pecking all the way. She giggled, proud, accomplished, aroused. Aiden let her go and hoisted the diaper bag over one shoulder and the backpack over the other. The rain began to trickle, but soon they were in a downpour. They turned back, heading toward the basement. Here, Julia said, let me help. As she fumbled with the wet straps, she stretched out her hand to ease his burden. She paused. The strange whirring spooled up behind her. It sounded electrical. Let me highlight that. Let me highlight this. It sounded electrical, metallic in nature. What the hell is that? She stumbled forward, startled and dazed. She kneeled over, wrenching, seizing. Tears flowed down her face, clear at first, then ruby. Something had struck her from behind. She began to convulse and retch, screaming in agony between violent breaths. Her hand lingered outstretched, clawing at the air for his. Then a flood of light, a white light, washed over them both. I think, I mean, I come from a culture that's full of swearing, so whenever I see swears, it's just, yep. It just sort of like water off a duck's back. Sometimes they can feel very punctuated though, like, I think that's the only one in this little segment here. It's a very touch and go thing with swearing. Sometimes it feels like it's appropriate, other times it feels like it comes out of nowhere. Let's put a pin in this, a light blue pin, and we'll come back and discuss it a bit later, I think. First person, I've never thought about that. the screen can come off as first person. If it's couched within dialogue, it does that a lot less. If a narrator swears, that's slightly different. That's the point I think is really pertinent here. When Herringbone says, it's whether or not the tension justifies it. Because the tension's been released, and then we have what the fuck, Jules. Let's come back and deal with this when we get to it from here. Here's where we left off last time. Aiden awoke to an unsettling stillness. It was calm except for the thumping. I'd like to see this sentence rework with something like, although the thumping still I think that's fine to just outright declare what's happened. Aiden gouged for sleep from his eyes. He squinted through the slender window leading to the stairs outside. Yeah, earlier on tell us that the window is beside the stairs, just so that we know in our mind's eye where everything is in this basement. It's a very important setting, and this is I think the first time we have a very clear description of where this window is in relation to everything else. It needs to come earlier. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yes. Yep, I agree, Recycle. That's a nice little fix. By the stairs. Yeah. Good call. Yeah, just to reiterate, whenever I write over a sentence like this, it's just all suggestion. Mainly for the vibe that I want the sentence to convey rather than the actual words to use. It was calm, except for the thumping that never let up. Although the thumping still echoed deep in the distance, some fundamental absence had crept inside the room. They both declare outright what's happening. This, however, feels more like it's coming from Aiden's perspective. Sometimes the narrator and the character's minds can, or their impressions can be shared. It's a useful thing to try for, because it means that it reads less like a narrator listing of a story to you, and more that the narrator is curating the thoughts of the characters. Thank you. Bless you. Bless you too. The monster is Shrek, isn't it? It's been something. Analyze my sneeze. Aiden got to sleep from his eyes. He squinted through a slender window. Darkness. Morning hadn't arrived yet. Good. Keep the same paragraph. He called out to the shadows, "Jules?" There was no answer. It took a beat for it to sink in. It took a beat for it to sink in. And then it hit him. He knew where Julia had gone. Yeah, it's fine. Consider making this the same paragraph. Panicked, he scrambled to his feet. He began to chase her footsteps back and forth across the floor, his pattern in the dust echoing hers. He began to chase her footsteps, made me think he was trying to track her down by following the footsteps. Instead, what you mean is that this is like an incidental thing. He does the same thing that she did before mindlessly, so without realizing, what I think you want to go for is something like without realizing he circled. This is the impression I think you wanted to go for. What in my mind was happening was that he was like a tracker at the very start, being like, okay, I can follow her footsteps, and then he just follows them around in a circle, like a cartoon character. So I think try and think of a way, maybe using my suggestion, to take out that implication. What the fuck is she thinking? I would change it to past, or was she thinking? No, is okay too. There was no doubt in his mind. I would italicize this to convey that it's internal dialogue. But then this contradicts, isn't it? What the fuck is she thinking? There was no doubt in his mind. This is more rhetorical then. Jules snuck out there while sleeping. She was going for the car. God damn it, Jules. Fuck! God damn it, Jules. I get rid of this completely. I don't think it even needs to be internal dialogue. Just this is fine because it's a bit more soft. Unless you really want him just to say something out loud and have it echo around the basement walls. That's a very big basement. Lots of echoing. Maybe don't put it in. Yeah, I like the separate sentences there. It took me a little while to get into the swing of it, but when I read it a second time, I thought, oh yeah, that works. She is Chloe's got a fever. The fever's getting worse. She needs medicine in the car. Now these three details are actually quite softly presented all throughout the narrative. The very first thing we do in this basement, actually, after the time skip, is that Julia is coming down to Chloe and says, does she feel warm to you? Yeah, does she feel warmer to you? So Chloe's got a fever. Outrider, I think at least one other time before we get to this scene, could you mention Chloe's fever again? It doesn't have to be a crazy, like, Chloe's getting worse, she's gonna die, but just, you can say something like, Chloe gurgles off in the corner, and a slight note of frustration comes through her voice. Something like that. Something very soft, to declare that, hey, she's got a fever. Just keep that in mind. I think there's a point before at which Julia mentions the fact that they have medicine in the car. But if not, then mention that definitely. With those two things, Chloe's sick, and again, Chloe's getting a little worse. There's medicine in the car. That would ground this so that we don't have to outright state she's going for the medicine. She was going for the car, and the reader should intuitively know what's going on there. That's a good point that Sayaka raises, like, just reinforce those implications before. Because I think you can do that in a way that means, how to put it, you don't have to bang the reader over the head with it. They argued about moving, didn't they? Outrider, they argued about moving, right? Not specifically going back to the car. That was my memory of it, but I could be wrong. That's one way to let the reader know that your baby is moments away from dying. That's for sure. I like how subtle this is too. It's a very subtle image that just whispers very, very quietly to the reader that this baby is dying. Yeah, up until this point, she doesn't seem that sick as well. Also, let's talk about the idea of leaving the baby. It's woven into this really nice. This is a really good segue, actually. Um, there are two things here that go on in this paragraph, which is really clever. The predominant sub message is about Aiden not having bonded with Chloe enough in relation to Julia. Aiden also makes this weird assumption that she is going to be safer without him, which makes some sense if you plan on coming back very quickly and if you hide her away. But she has got a fever too, so do you leave a sick child and search for your wife, or do you stay put with your sick child knowing that if you get lost, your baby is dead, but if your wife gets lost, only she is dead? And if you go and search for your wife, she's probably dead anyway, so there's a weird sort of mental gymnastics that he does here. To his credit, he's probably very tired and stressed, so he's not thinking very clearly, and he wants to save his wife. You take the baby with you as the other option. I think he dismisses it, I think on the pretense that it's too dangerous outside. I have a feeling it's important that the baby doesn't come, because of the way this ends. It reads like it's going to be someone's going to die, maybe, and the baby's going to have to be safely tucked away. What ends up happening is a really interesting way that we can make a compromise. He stands at the door thinking about, I'm going to have to go out into the forest, I'm going to get lost, and then all of a sudden his wife comes back. So he could make the wrong decision and then not have to face the consequence just yet. Or take the baby with him. And then leave it at the threshold or just inside the mechanic's place as the aliens come at the end. Oh, okay. Cool. Um, hmm. Did you get some feedback about that? We were saying that, that's also a good point Psycho just raised here about knowing the exact distance could help rationalize that decision too. We were talking about this decision that he makes about leaving the baby behind versus taking it with him, and the kind of justifications he has that feed into his idea about how strongly bonded he is with his daughter. I'm going to third the distance request, please. We get this sense of time, this vague sense of 20 minutes to X, 20 minutes to Y. It would be okay for him to not know exactly. We need a measure of distance, I think. I think, personally, that would make some sense if your baby was very healthy. Because the baby is dying of fever, it's sick. At the very least, maybe what you could do, my suggestion would be to wrap her up into his chest or something, make him stand at the threshold of the mechanic shop, think, okay, I'm gonna have to do this, go to the car, through the forest, and then before he can take a step out, or he takes a step out, and then Julia appears, what he then does is he unwraps the baby, leaves it in the mechanic shop, like I'll take you off, put you down somewhere safe, run out to meet Julia. Maybe. It's difficult to. I think you have to be comfortable with the decision that you make for the story as well. And everyone's got a different understanding of what is a justifiable action. keeping in mind the amount of stress and the in the moment decisions we need to make, I think it's useful to have like a rule book, like your character's personal rule book of my motives are I've got to protect Chloe and Julia. If I need to go and find Julia, I need to do something that protects Chloe. So keeping that in mind, maybe it's not the best to leave her. Let's keep discussing this as we push through though. That's a good point. Like, does Aiden think he could overpower one of them? There's that interesting thing where I think people are very harsh on like it's this constant struggle in a story to be believably mistaken in something and have it not mistaken as a writing error. You don't want your reader to think, oh, that's stupid, why did you write it like that? You want your reader to think, that is a stupid thing that person has done. There's a very big difference between them, isn't it? One is the story is flawed, and the other is that action was flawed, but I understand sort of what was going through the character's head. Aim for the second one, avoid the first one. It's about justification, isn't it? If you can tell the reader why it's justified to leave the child, leave the child. If it reads like... Yeah. Anyway, so in addition to that, I'll let you think about that, because I think we've got some good ideas floating around here. Stress makes people do stupid things. Exactly, so you got... Find the sense of justification to it. That's my advice. And I think this could be a key. He weighed the idea of going after her, but Chloe. She's going to the car. But what about Chloe? I think this needs to be a bit of a full sentence. He couldn't leave her, could he? He would be safer than bringing her with him, surely. It's still out there, he thought. So he's like... now he's weighing it up. They're still out there. Should I leave her? He pressed his palms to his eyes, then raked his fingers through his short... I'm gonna get rid of short chestnut. I don't think now is the time for us to character build. I think we've got an idea of what his hair looks like before. Discard the description. Keep it focused very tight on his decision-making process. Julia would make the right choice. She was good at that, deciding what was best for Chloe, not like Aiden. Work had kept him busy, too much time away from his daughter. He hadn't bonded with her in the same way that Julia had. This is a really good idea that could feed into his mistake. What I suggest here... I love the... So yeah, the self-doubt element is really interesting because it feeds into this idea of the mistake. What I suggest here is to frame his anxiety, his fatherhood qualms, against what Julia would have done. It's very strong when you have it, like Julia would do this, Julia would know what to do, Julia was always taking care of Chloe when she was sick, Julia was always the one to do X, Y, Z because Aiden was too busy. You keep it focused on Julia. Julia. You introduce, and you've done half of that, but I'd like to push it really for like more. Too much time away from his daughter. He hadn't bonded with her in the way that Julia had. Is a sentence that I would like to see replaced with Julia was always the one to... when she was sick. When she cried, she reached for Mum, and truth be told, he'd been okay with that, so you can just get rid of a sentence now. So then, his decision is then based on the fact that he doesn't really know what to do. Julia would know. He makes a guess as what Julia would want to do. Chloe's not a toddler. I assume. Chloe's a child like a very small one, a baby. This is an incorrect assumption, but that could be a believable mistake. The instinct that a parent should have for their child would be, I need to keep them on me at all times, especially if they're a baby. A baby can't sit in a cradle and just Google, Google, and just maybe make little cute noises until mum and dad come back. It would be safer for that child to be wrapped around the parent as they run. If the parent dies, well, then the child's dead anyway. But there is an off chance that someone could come and stumble upon Chloe in an old abandoned mechanic's shop. Here's where we have to come to a decision about what is a justifiable thing for Aiden to think at this point in time. Sounds like a very edgy poem, real Sayaka. Let me go and have a look at the chat, what you guys have been suggesting. Pumpkin Pie relates a story about Walter White leaving the baby in the back of the fire truck. He uses a bit of an educated guess in that instance to... He knows the baby will be okay. Psycho says, for the wrench, there's a good suggestion. We'll come to that in a minute. Pumpkin Pie Addict has a really good suggestion here about, he runs his fingers through the baby's hair, reminds him of Julia. You can then introduce some self-doubt as well. I like the self-doubt aspect, but you can mix it in with the love that he feels for his child as well. She's a 1-year-old, okay, yeah. Ooh, I like that sort of emotional manipulation there as well. With the she's calling out for Mama specifically. I like that. Yes, sorry, that was over my head. I'm very sorry. Hey, Adi Safari. Welcome back to the stream. We're talking about motherhood. We're talking about whether or not it's justifiable for someone to leave a baby in a safe place, knowing that they could go out into a... like, the parent will have to go out into a dangerous place, may or may not return. Bit of a dilemma. You could always nip all of these problems in the bud by getting Aiden to do, like, regardless of what he does, it's kind of like the Mass Effect ending, isn't it? Like, you make all of these different choices, and then you get to the ending, and it kind of doesn't matter, because you step out the door, and all that danger that you assumed would happen is cut short from this new scene that happens. That doesn't feel cheap if it's short. If you play a game for 50 hours and then have it does feel cheap. But if you have a very hard decision that you have to make quickly, and it resolves itself in an unusual way, what it tells you then is this. This is the most important thing about that decision. It's about Aiden. It's not really about Chloe, it's about how Aiden sees Chloe. And I like this. And regardless of what you end up doing, Outrider, justify why Aiden chooses to do it. Really justify it. Make it the love for Julia, the love for Chloe, the self-doubt he has. And then he decides, he sticks with it. And then it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, because it doesn't end up mattering. Get your weekly newsletters. Lyrebird's hot motherhood tips. Baby formula is a suitable substitute if you want to take a break from breastfeeding. Australian baby formula is like, it's like gold in terms of how valuable it is to the Chinese market. It's one of the hottest exports. Like you got yourself some baby formula, you've got a bar of gold, and people in China will pay incredible amounts of money as a premium to get good baby formula. That's my hot motherhood tip. Was it about the wrench? Oh no, it was about, so given that there's literally no humans around, and the monsters have been able to find them so far, I think Aiden could, justify leaving the baby. That's what Real Psycho says. Yeah, I think we're at a decision where I could see either one being somewhat justified, correctly or incorrectly. Make me believe that it's a justified decision, and then I can be a judge as a reader on whether or not it's sensible or not sensible. Yeah, do let it ruminate. It's difficult to get done. You're here. You can't unsubscribe. That's part of the contract. It's part of my new and updated privacy policy. You can't unsubscribe. Okay. Aiden scrambled around the room in search of anything he could use as a weapon. He recalled seeing a sizable wrench sitting among the rusty set of tools. You'll have fixed this up earlier, so I'll let it slide. Stumbling through the darkness, he made his way to the corner. It took a minute to sift through the pile before he found it. Sizable wrench before he found it. He gripped the wrench in his right hand, clenching his fist around the cold steel, and his knuckles turned. I'm just going to put white here. Pale than usual. I don't even think we even need this. This reminds me a bit of like what would happen in a video game where you pick up the wrench in BioShock and you have that little animation where you look at it. I don't think it works as well for a story. I think he gripped the wrench in his right hand, feeling its... Something like this is a bit more useful. At least it's something. At least it was something. Who knows whether it could keep him alive if he were to come face to face with whatever the hell was out there. He prayed that he never had to find out. That's a much more useful description, even though it's a bit clunky in parts, rather than he clenches the wrench and his fingers turn white. That's fine, but I would rather, in its place, have an implication for why he's picking up the wrench, and hopefully a little addendum to increase the self-doubt. Would it really keep him alive? It's a wrench, you know. These could be interstellar aliens. Wow, really? Nice. Cool. Yeah, it reminded me of BioShock. I don't know why. Probably because the wrench is a really important weapon in BioShock. Yeah, whether it could keep those things at bay would be really good too. Who knows whether it... That's a really nice short version, so who knows whether it would keep... tearing him apart. He probably didn't know what to find out. Good question. Because that could come up a little bit, couldn't it? Yep, that took the words out of my mouth there, yeah. It's an idiom that, I think in modern times doesn't imply that he's actually praying. I see what you mean, Sayaka, about outside. Who knows where to keep those things from tearing you apart? I'd replace it with monsters then. No, I'm gonna dig in here actually. I like outside because even though, as you say, we know that they're outside, those things outside, I think serves as a marker for things. If you just have things, I kind of get it. Those things outside, they've only ever been outside. It's not reinforcing that they're outside. It's enforcing the things outside. I don't know. It's a bit tricky. I think I don't mind either way. I'll let Sean pick up. I'll let Sean pick that one. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. I've got my iron opinions. Yeah, no, it actually really made me think though about the implication of why I wrote outside. Hmm. So it's good to question. Always good to question. Yeah, I'm totally fine with the pray idiom, but if you don't like it, you can just wished, hoped, willed. Doesn't matter. For me, I didn't interpret this as him being religious. I just interpreted it as like a deep desire. Chloe stirred, threatening to make a fast grenade, and held still, a deer in the headlights. Yep, I think it's fine. She settled from after a moment. Okay. He carried on toward the door, weapon in hand, then scaled up the stairs. I think this reads a little bit weak in terms of Chloe's condition. I'd inject some... Here, I'd inject some... babies don't have a... 1-year-old, you know, still, they don't have that mechanism where they can suppress pain very easily. That may, in some sense, cloud his decision. You know, if she comes to, gurgles in pain, he's gonna have to stop there and think, oh shit. And then he's gonna have to remake his decision about whether or not he goes. That could be an interesting thing to talk about. This moment where he doubts or doubles down. Good moment to introduce a doubt or double down. A moment of doubt would be good, yeah. Yes, 100%. Really good suggestion, Sayaka. I'm gonna copy that, because it's mine now. Yeah. This is my suggestion now. I'll put it in quotes. But yeah, it's a really good suggestion because it's a great way to end off a sentence. You need that last moment of, am I doing this? Like, am I really doing this? Is this the right thing? Then you go down. Then pay with your blood. Did you ever get the Grey Fox's mask in Oblivion? you could put it on, commit a crime, take it off, and the guards would just be like, "Ooh, where did you go?" Ah, I love that game. The typical Australian. We still haven't gotten over the thievery, have we? A dampness was in the air. It's quite a simple opening. I'd swap it around. I'd say dampness was in the air. It's passive. You could swap it around and say the air was laden with morning's cold kiss. That's what I'd probably do. It's from here on we enter quite a different style of writing. It's something that we haven't seen too much of yet. It's quite verbose and very fluid and very, I think the word writerly was used before. This is quite writerly writing. For me, it's not so much. It is telly, and the reason why I picked it up at the first was because it reads a bit passive. Consider a replacement. I don't want to make it too verbose though. I don't want to make it any more writerly than what it already is. So yeah, so stew within. We could do lots of really interesting things like dampness stew within the air, morning's kiss, washed over Aiden's face as he did, blah blah blah. I think it's. I agree. It's too writerly because the whole paragraph is very writerly. Let's read it. Let's read it all. A dampness was in the air. Charcoal clouds painted the sky in a rolling swirl, illuminated from within by periodic bursts of striking white light. If you double down on the imagery, sometimes it just gets lost in this soup of overwriting. It doesn't strictly mean that each individual sentence is bad. They could be really lovely sentences. But sometimes it can feel like you're wading through a knee-deep river of molasses. It's thick, it's juicy writing, but man, it's hard for the reader to sit through. And it's too much of a good thing almost, if that's a thing. This is good too because it has a linking movement between this paragraph and that paragraph. He felt a dampness in the air. Feels better. It feels like even though the sentence isn't strictly showing or telling, it's telling, but I don't mind that, and I think it's an okay way to just bring the reader in. I think that that's quite a good improvement. Because after, you then get these very thick descriptions, and the reader is eased in. Charcoal clouds painted the sky in a rolling swell, illuminated from within by periodic bursts of white. I'm gonna put white, and striking light is a bit redundant there, but something was off about them. They move with menace and malicious intent. It's really nice. Good use of conjunction at the start of a sentence. I like that. Other editors won't. I do. Because I'm stubborn with my conjunctions at the start of sentences. I like them. And here it works. It's so fluid. The quarter moon cowered behind them, making it next to impossible to spot the freeway overpass in the distance. Nice. Good use of feature to ground something really important. Everything had happened so fast, but Aiden guessed about 10 minutes from the car until they had hit the woods, cutting through the trees to catch their breath beneath the canopy. This is where it stumbles a bit, because what you're trying to do here is retell the scene in terms of this was where they had come from, and they'd hit a forest about 10 minutes away. So let's have a think about how we can rework this to smooth out that idea. Hey Solar Star-Lord, welcome back. 20k, nice. You live in a good city for cycling. In my city, it's a bit dangerous. But, that's pretty cool, actually. Nice one. But you say you hate it. Well, it keeps you fit. It's not all bad. From the very unbiased opinion of OutriderSG. I'm not a pie addict. Yes, exactly. Don't throw rocks from your glass house. Pumpkin pie addict. I was about to say grass house. If you want to clear up the implications of what's happening here, I wouldn't so much try and make him remember point distances between A, B, and C. I'd make it confusing and then give us a blank estimate. Everyone was saying here before, and I was agreeing too, that we need to know how far it is from here to there. That's enough, I think. I think that's justifiable with the amount of confusion going on, with the panic that had taken place. Nevertheless, we do need a marker. Sometimes it's more useful to just be general and vague than it is to be like, okay, 10 to 20 minutes here, 15 to 30 minutes there. That's a bit like... I think it's stronger just to guesstimate rather than trying to be a bit more logical about it. Personal preference, though. Let me go back and read the comments here. Yeah, is the rightly paragraph 2 rightly? Yes. Maybe it's justified, though. Let's go back and have a little look at it just after I read Pumpkin Pie Addicts. But then again, I'm a joke of a writer. That would be very Jokey but interesting story. I like that. So we've got. Did we make a note of what we were going to put up here? I think Outrider, you know what you want to replace that with. You've got a little marker there. Charcoal clouds painted the sky in a rolling swirl, illuminated from within by periodic bursts of white. But something was off about them. They move with menace, malicious intent. Quarter moon cower behind them, making it impossible to spot the freeway in the distance. The freeway then has a purpose here. No, I think it's good. It's writerly, but it's done for a purpose and it's fluid. So I think this isn't overridden, and in actual fact, it's quite refreshing after being in the basement for so long to come out and to have this world painted. That's why I really like it, I think, and that's why I'm not so keen to jump down upon it and be like, no, it's too much, it's too much. Raised by wolves. That's it. Chloe will be right. Chloe will adapt to the life of the wolf. So whenever I leave paragraphs justified, it's a really good question. I think in terms of that last thing I was saying about the juxtaposition between the fact that we've been cooped up in a basement for so long, and then all of a sudden we go back into the world. This is the first time in this whole section where we really have a depth of image. And that contrast is really nice, I think. I think where it's not justified, less and less justified, is the more end-to-end writerly segments that you have. Not every paragraph needs to be a fully fledged landscape-like description of where we are, what we're doing, of how people appear. After a while it gets exhausting to read. Very quickly it gets exhausting to read. Not you, Juxtaterrestrial. This is a story about you, though. The juxtaposition and the extraterrestrial. Cool. Yeah, I agree, Pumpkin Pie Addict. Mostly I conflate a writerly paragraph with a paragraph that's trying to establish the scene. That's usually what I do when I write. I try and make quite a long paragraph about where things are. But if it's too writerly in an edit, I'll cut it back. I think this cycle depends on... Remember that first scene? Where we were trying to think of how the incident happens. OutriderSG has re-twigged the first half of the... Well, the first scene. And I think chopped a few things around and changed them. So the answer is maybe. It's a touch and go thing, isn't it? You have to be a bit sort of on the pulse about it. That's my general mindset too. I think your reader will appreciate that as well in terms of if you have to be writerly, and you should be writerly, we're writers, but not in the sense of just doing it all the time and making it as verbose as possible. But for me, this feels like a breath of fresh air in a sense, because we've had a very intimate, communicative display between the characters so far, without too much description, and it feels quite claustrophobic, which is good because we're in a basement. And then all of a sudden we're out in the air, and it's lovely. I really like that. Oh, that's right, you weren't here on Thursday. Watch the replay. Watch it. Watch the replay. Let's continue. The onslaught hadn't subsided either. On the horizon, the gold-laced streaks of red light tore through the atmosphere. Each met with a column of fire as they crashed into the ground with a scream and a distant clap. It was the same everywhere Aiden looked. The edge of the sky was a maelstrom of lightning and fire. That pulsed with a brazen hue. I think that's fine as well. Stepping out of a doorway, Aiden paused before an open field, grass dry as kindling. Pause before an open field. The blades cascaded in wavy arches with the wind, comma, ushering him toward the trees. Can I suggest the blades bent with the wind, ushering him towards the trees. Cascaded in wavy arches is lovely. It's a really nice poetic way of saying it. But because we've had the intensity dialed up to 11 here, the only way you can go is back from here, I think, until you get to a really exciting part. So sometimes a really simple, short, alliterative description can actually do wonders in terms of just making it a bit more fluid and less showy. Not to Battelle showy, but more show-off-y. I prefer bent to cascade and wavy arches, because it means the same thing. What's your opinion, chat? Let me know. Like and subscribe. Oh, were you here on Thursday? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sayaka. My mistake. Who was I thinking of that wasn't here on Thursday? I don't know. I don't know who I was thinking of. My apologies. Feel free to post the story onto the Discord as well if you'd like us to have a look at it outside of streaming hours. More than happy to. And if you want to then, after a couple of weeks, we could go through it on stream again if you like. I've done that a couple of times with Juxtaterrestrial and others. We've looked at the same scene of the same story that's been edited and reworked, and then we're going back for round 2, so to speak. I think it's really cool when we do that. Who's real psych? Who? Psychotic, who are you talking about? I don't know who that is. I think simpler is better, isn't it? Really? Is a sexual connotation to bend? Ah, the link's my Discord. Funny, you should ask that. It's on... Yeah. Hang on. Wait, one sec. Yeah, there. It's just on my homepage. If you scroll down, actually, you're probably watching it through that page right now. Scroll down, you'll see a banner saying Discord. Click on that, and you'll be welcomed into the lovely arms of my Discord channel. Oh, nice, you found it. Whoops. Anyway. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, please do. I always like following up on edits that take place. Sayaka, that goes for you as well, and anyone else that I've edited in the past. If you'd like me to re-edit something that you've worked on, I'm really happy to do that, because I like to see what you've done with it and talk about new elements that we can play with and dive deeper. I never knew that there was a sexual connotation to bent, but I'm glad that you didn't feel it here either. Follower and lover. I love all of my followers equally. I am the Jesus of Twitch streamers. Yeah, you can choose one. Leaned with the wind is actually quite nice. That has a bit of personification to it. What about leaned in? I like that. With only his hunch to guide him, I'm gonna put a hunch rather than his hunch. his hunch is a bit slow. And it just reads a bit differently. He started for the freeway. He wandered in a few steps and halted. A thunderous crack seemed to split. I would like it to immediately split. Split the heavens in two. Another streak of light piercing the sky overhead. But stopped as a thunderous crack split the heavens in two. Another streak of light piercing the sky overhead is, I think, a bit redundant, because it's already split the heavens into a thunderous crack. Crack is technically a sound, isn't it? But I think it carries an image with it as well, so you can get by just doing that. I suggested this because it reads a bit more fluidly if you compact all the ideas into one. It smacked the ground with a tremendous rumble. Okay, so now here I put lightning, or whatever it is, like a bolt of whatever it is. Smacked the ground with a tremendous rumble some distance beyond the shop. A plume of smoke billowed up into the air much closer than the rest. Aiden's heart leapt into his throat. Yeah, get bent. That's what I usually see it in. Ah, bent over a table. I never thought of that. There's always one. Yeah, get rid of those scenes. I find myself doing it occasionally in my own writing, and when I write it out, I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? So I go back and get rid of it. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. A bolt of jelly. Just a bit. Fist size lump. We'll get to that in a second. Bolt of happy birds. These are all terrible ideas. Shame on you three. I'm with TTLACC on this. That face describes my reaction perfectly. A plume of smoke billowed up in the air much closer than the rest. Aiden's heart leapt into his throat. Something was standing across the field. It was brief, but he saw it. The flash of light had revealed. So, instead of doing this, like, I'd much rather another flash of light strikes and then he sees it, rather than it having post-fact implications. A plume of smoke billowed up into the air much closer than the rest. So have it closer rather than further away. If an Aiden's heart left into his throat, you can put the tree line back in if you want, but I want that to be a bit tighter. He froze completely exposed. He swallowed the fist-sized lump back down. Now Sayaka suggested something interesting there, which was... Let me find it. Psycho says a fist-sized lump back into the pit of his stomach, just a bit tighter. Ah, I see. Back. Oop. Back into, or into. the pit of his stomach. I don't love this, but it's okay. Psycho says, if you don't want our feedback, we'll just go. Your feedback is always appreciated, Psycho, always. I may not take all of it, I may not react to all of it, but it's always appreciated. I think the rule of thumb for that past perfect thing is if it could benefit from being immediate, make it immediate. So Pumpkin Pie Addict raises something that he talked about before with his jerk ending. I really think the story should have ended at the door opening. I feel there's an emotional high leaving the baby behind. It's not connecting since we left the shelter. Very interesting, yeah. Hmm. I like it too. But I'd be okay with a little bit more for Julia. And that's your call, Pumpkin. Not Pumpkin. OutriderSG. I like Pumpkin Pie's Addict's idea. But if you think it's important that we know what happens to Julia, then show us. Excuse me. That's right, it used to be a prologue. That's right. Coming no story. Up to Leap Moodor. Not quite. That's yeah, maybe not. That's an interesting point that BF raises because the focalization changes. Did you notice at the end, guys and girls? The focalization changes. She paused. It's strange. Here, the focalization changes from Aiden to Julia. The camera of narration stops focusing through Aiden and shifts over to Julia and narrates her experience as she gets knocked out by the alien. It's good to establish that rule, OutriderSG, in which case this section here needs to be rewritten from Aiden's perspective, because right now it's not from Aiden's perspective, it's from Julia's. Good point, Outrider. If you wanted to do that, that's a good point. Back to the car, find the medicine, come back, she gets knocked out. That'd be interesting if you cut it at the point where Aiden leaves the baby, cut to Julia, describe her journey to and from. It's longer, and arguably it's not strictly necessary, but it creates that emotional high. Consider that. I'll leave this one up to you, I think. I think we're gonna need something a bit stronger than Bob the Builder to fix this situation. This whole alien invasion situation. I don't think Bob the Builder can fight for humanity's survival. That'd be a terrifying future if we had to rely on that. It's my world now. Bob the World Destroyer. Cutting her to being attacked would be interesting. Hmm. You could play with that, OutriderSG. Have a think. I will say that the disadvantage of doing this. Remember, I talked about the Mass Effect thing before? About all the characters' choices and decisions coming to this point, and then just having it funnel into a situation in which doesn't feel like it was going to happen. He's prepared to go out and find Julia. Oh, she's back already. And that's okay in a narrative sense, but for the reader to experience it, maybe not as exciting as, say, Aiden walking at the top of the stairs, looking down to Chloe, and thinking, I gotta go and find my wife. Cut. New scene, or new chapter. Julia is, like, an hour or two before, walking to the car, walking back. She sees the house. Aiden is just coming out. She goes to him. Blah, aliens, the end. It's longer. It may be a bit more, I suppose, padded. It feels like it's a more padded story, but the essence of a story is not only what happens, but also how you grow attached to the characters and how they work and the drive that they have for each other. And their motives. Maybe that could work. Just a suggestion. I think it could work. What do you guys think? If we take in Pumpkin Pie Addict's suggestion of cutting at the point where Aiden leaves and pushing back into a scene where Julia goes to the car, maybe, according to BF, like, she has to stave off an attack or something, or there's a weakened alien that she has to escape from, something like that. That'd be interesting. And then coming back and redoing this scene from the perspective of Jules. Exactly. It could be a shadow, it could be a direwolf, it could be anything that's sort of speeds up the tension, I guess. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In which case you could keep it tense with a couple of moments of suspense and maybe like a sound that forces her to run or something. You can keep it very detail light, and that would still be quite suspenseful. You don't necessarily have to have a run into an alien, but maybe the threat of one, light in the distance, something like that. I think Outriders says that this is a multi-POV story to begin with, so I'll take their they're obviously comfortable in trying it out, so I don't think the threat of it being difficult to manage outweighs the reward that you can get from trying. So I say give it a go. And then just keep reworking it until it works. Yeah. Actually, yeah, it didn't all the way through. It's kind of cool. That's kind of a golden rule in modern horror as well. The less you see of something, the scarier it is. The unknown is always more terrifying. In which case here, I don't have to talk too much about this, because this could be the end of the other section. I'd probably rewrite it, so that's this is from now from Julia's perspective, and we can deal with that when we come to it. The release, just commenting on this generally, the release intention didn't feel earned in its current position, where Aiden is ready to go off and leave his daughter, and then meets up with Chloe, and his relief turns into this kind of Oh yeah, also this sentence here I think doesn't work. Um, but that's neither here nor there now in terms of the grand picture of where the story is going. Just be careful about if you're going to reuse this in the next part where they reunite. Just be careful that the relief is the prime emotion, and then maybe a bit of humor underneath it, just a whisper. I think arousal's probably not the emotion to aim for to have them back together, just in a very stressful situation that's been resolved. I think that's all I have to say about the ending here, because if you want to play around with a new point of view, that's kind of where we can call it. Um, mm, mm, mm. I haven't read a good multi-point of view book in quite a while. My favorite multi-point of view books are written by David Mitchell, so Cloud Atlas and Ghost Written. Um, those books have very specific multi-point of view structures that tend to be novella-length entities that act as a multi-point of view, and they don't jump back and forward between them. It's just one character, one character, one character, one character, and it works so well. Wow, really good stories. Um, A Song of Ice and Fire has a different multi-POV structure, so different again, more sort of chop and change. Not in the chapters themselves, but in terms of like, you will have a repeating character speak for like 4 or 5 times during the course of the book. I haven't read one, but that's the impression that people give to me when they talk about it. Mm, 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 mm. Oh yes, writing a story with a similar structure. Mm. Did you mean the I think you might have been talking about A Song of Ice and Fire. Mm. That's cool. Like it's good to experiment with multi POVs. Difficult to pull off, but worthwhile if you do. That's a bold suggestion in Pumpkin Pie Addict to make it a very disconnected chapter that comes after. Um, and have that character sync up with your main character. Okay, cool. No, Psycho, don't put yourself down. We'll raise you up to our level of braininess. I don't know. I think it could be interesting to see where it goes, though, Outrider. Think about whether or not you want to play with that mystery, that sense of time between the 2 points. That may be really interesting, or it could be. If you do it too long, you lose the mystery and it becomes tedious. Oh, you're in David Mitchell style. Oh, nice. Yeah, very cool. It's a great style to work with. Um, a lot of my stories do that too. They work with novella length sections. Hmm. You got a favorite David Mitchell book? Tell me your favorite. I think mine's Ghost Ridden. I love Ghost Ridden. It's a really good story. Very well written, engaging. The story driven by all of the different characters working together is fantastic. It's a really emotional story. Love it. Ooh, a 17-year time jump. Wow. You could do a multi-POV where it jumps between the time points. Past, present, past, present, past, present, past, present. That'd be cool. Difficult to pull off. And there has to be a reason for it. Like, your character up here is investigating what's happened to the characters down here. Or what they do down here is significant and affects the character up here. The kind of interfacing between the two time zones could be really cool. Nice. Sounds good. Please do. Drop it into Discord, and then we can look at it at our own leisure. Sharp Objects is my favorite book that does that. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check it out. Right now. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn? Ooh, it's dark. Dark Places. Dark Places? Dark Places. Dark Places by... Also by Gillian Flynn. Also quite a dark story. Wow. Oh, no wonder, it's by the author of Gone Girl. Yep. Interesting. I agree about Bone Clocks, yeah. I enjoyed where Bone Clocks started off, and I appreciated how it flowed and where it ended. It didn't have the same effect on me as Cloud Atlas or as Ghost Written. It's still a good story though. I need to read more David Mitchell. Yeah. No, don't feel bad about how much you read relative to other people. I sure as hell don't. I read like 1 or 2 books a year, very slowly. So, yeah, I need to read more as well. Really need to read more. Remember those books I showed you a couple of streams ago? They will be probably the books I read this year. If I end up reading them at all. Oh no. I need to read more. I really do. 1 or 2 isn't exactly right. I might read 3, but even so. Yeah. Oh, okay, right. I was wondering where, like, who Bucking Features was. Yeah, that little, isn't that? Yeah, I surprise myself when I say it too. That little. hmm I probably wouldn't even call that reading. I call that just like occasionally perusing the book. Yeah, I really need to read more. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, Psycho. Mm, I'll I'll permit it. I'll allow it. 60 books by the end of the year. Oh my god. Can I do 6? I read very slowly. I read very, very slowly. I'll try for 6. I'll let you know how I go. Okay, why don't I wrap up the stream there? Good point to call it quits, I think. Yeah, I'm picky about the books I read too. I'm a Pumpkin Pie addict, very picky. How long do we have left? We're gonna end. Oh, in terms of the end of the year? 6 months? 3 per month, nice. Oh, I wish I could read like that. I envy your reading skills. Also, Nazgula, we'll be editing your story next stream, which is 9 p.m. my time in Australia on Thursday. And then we'll do another round next Sunday, this time, 9 a.m. So, yes. Looking forward to it. Send me a link on Discord, and we'll go through your story next time. Ah, interesting observation. Good books slowly, lesser ones very fast. Hey, no worries, Sean. Thank you so much for letting me edit the story, and also for getting Nazgula in on the Lyrebird racket. Yeah, no, thank you for the word of mouth recommendation. Thank you. Hey, nice one. Excellent. Yes, I am always, herringbone. Always. Please send it through email, Discord, whatever you like. Give me a Google Doc, and I'll put you in. I will pencil you in. We'll probably do Nazgulas for the next 2 streams, but for the next couple afterwards, yeah, please send me something to edit. That'd be great. Mm-hmm. Still, thank you. It's always good to make new connections. All of my past streams, which you're more than welcome to check out on YouTube or on Twitch, whichever has more. One day, Sayaka, your story will surface mid the Lyrebird tide, and I will get to your story again. Actually, send it through if you want to, if you want me to have another crack at it, but it'll probably be after the 2 that we've just scheduled in today. That's okay. But I think if you feel like you have a section ready that you want some feedback on, you can always send it through. Do whatever you're comfortable with, I think. Real Sayaka? Who's that? You watch all of my streams? Really? Wow, impressive. Is this the first time you've commented tonight? Or today? It's today my time. Yes, that's right. Twitch has scoured my past from history. All 11 months of it. Except for the ones I have uploaded in the past. Wow. That's impressive. YouTube now has probably more past videos. Twitch has some of my early streams, but YouTube is kind of more like an up-to-date archive in terms of the really recent videos. But yeah, I'm glad I could facilitate your binge watch. I'm the Netflix of... I don't know what I'm the Netflix of. Anyway, let's wrap up stream. Let's call this quits. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for all the lovely comments. And I think we had a really good discussion there at the end with everyone contributing some really positive ideas and suggestions. So yeah, thank you. You guys make this stream a lovely experience. So thank you again. Yeah, puts a nice smile on my face. YouTube link? It is... I don't have a YouTube link. Let me put it on my Twitch homepage. I will do that. Thank you. Tad Bird edits. Alright, we'll catch you guys next time.